What you just saw was created entirely with AI-generated assets. Not a single thing was hand-drawn or made using traditional illustration or animation methods. You can actually make something polished enough to showcase your vision and start getting feedback, which is really important, just like what I did. Once you know your idea has potential, only then you can go all in on production. For me, this all started with a single image, this image. I found it on MidJourney and it looked amazing. It's simple, but I really liked it. So I was thinking, could I turn it into a looping video? Who knows, let's try that. So I tried Runway for that. I used the image as both the first and the last frame to guide the AI, and within just a couple of tries I had quite a smooth loop. As you can see, it looks fine, it looks usable. But then I wondered, what if I made this even wider, landscape version? Could it work? So I expanded it, and again Runway did quite a great job. It handled it beautifully, keeping the loop basically intact while extending the scene. And with this success, I of course felt ambitious, and therefore I decided to expand it again, back into portrait format. This time I ended up with about 100 cyclists in the scene. Some of them looked a bit different, slightly bigger than the originals, but overall it worked well enough for this stage. And this was the exact moment when inspiration struck. I thought, what if this was a game? A cycling game about building like a bike-friendly cities. This is the way how this cycling tycoon was born. It was an idea that started differently and evolved step by step. From there, I kept pushing the idea, which meant, of course, expanding it once again. So I did it for the third time using Runway again, and it created wide landscape version with couple hundreds of cyclists, which is just my estimation. I didn't count them. But as you can see, the edges of the canvas got a bit messy, but I knew I'd be covering those areas later with other elements, so I didn't worry about it. So at this stage I already had a bunch of cyclists, but I needed kind of basic environment so it doesn't look too bland. And I did it by exporting a frame from the last version of animation, and I loaded it into MidJourney editor. I used it to add details. For example, I added a tree line at the bottom to cover weird cyclists near the right down edge, and I added some city elements to the top of the whole scene. These didn't need to be animated, I just used them as a static cutouts. And this was the time when I started thinking about the whole sequence. I wanted a logo reveal, loading screen, and a kind of homepage screen. For the loading scene, I needed a single cyclist. So I went back to the very original image, cut out the middle cyclist, scaled him up and enhanced the image using AI, because the original upscaled screenshot was blurry and noisy, so AI fixed that quite easily. And then I animated him pedaling in a seamless loop, and also I needed a logo. I generated Cycling Tycoon text logo in a couple of styles. After some tweaking I found one I liked, and I animated it in Runway, and surprisingly it only took just a couple of tries to get it right, because I was really afraid of this particular effect. And for the final touch I also created UI elements for homepage, including a cute cycling body avatar and a couple of buttons and bars. I also kept those as images because there was no need to animate them. And with all the assets ready, of course upscaled to 4K, which is quite easy with Runway, I started putting everything together into a smooth sequence. First, I layered the assets, starting with the hundreds of cyclists and transitioning down to the single cyclist. I used dynamic zooms and careful transitions to make the flow feel kind of natural. I just needed to align all those layers and parent them together in order to move as a zoom lens when I would be scaling those down or up. For the logo reveal, I keyed out the animation of the text part, so all the background is removed, and added a simple loading text animation with a sliding effect to mimic a game loading screen. I placed that single cyclist in this scene to complement the visuals and kept it a bit more engaging. Once the loading sequence was done, I zoomed out to reveal the full scenes with hundreds of cyclists. And here I added the tree line and the city elements I had created before. I also masked out some of the top rows of cyclists to make them blend naturally into the environment. And for the home page I needed transparent elements since the AI generated assets came with the background. For that I used Photoshop to cut out the parts I needed and exported them with transparency. I added some glow effects to make it feel more polished, like an actual game screen, and with this, visual part was basically done. Lastly, I added some sound. I chose fitting music to match the vibe and generated ambient sounds like bike bells and city noises using Audio from Hugging Face. And that's it. This whole process was honestly a lot of fun and way faster than creating traditional assets. AI isn't perfect, but it's a fantastic tool for experimenting and solving problems quite quickly. It's not a magic fix, of course, but if you use it in a smart way, it can save you tons of time and effort. Thanks for sticking around. If you found this useful, give it a like and stay tuned for more tips in the next video. And keep pedaling and keep creating.